then whichever you are comfortable
Should I
with.
play something Hindi? Will that?
हाँ आशिकी
Yuck, no.
कुछ और
I would rather shave my head.
कौन सा?
bald.
Eyeball? You shave your eyeball?
No, head.
Oh, right, makes sense.
Huh.
कुछ भी जो तुम्हें आता है.
Problem, my nails are also long.
Happy birthday to you. हाँ.
Happy birthday to you.
Thank you. I haven't had enough of that.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you.
Oh my god, thank you guys. It's Revati's birthday coming up on 18th of September. Wish her.
Firstly, why are you keeping track?
I don't.
Every time I open as it
Simrat
goes through
status?
this thing, it is always some counting down going
Yeah,
on.
some
It's
counting
like
down.
14 days to go,
Did you
365 days to go, 364 days to go.
Did you see her
So
status
original.
today?
No, I didn't see
It has, she's
Meta.
it's her and a couple of her friends featuring as the Kardashian family.
Oh.
No, not Kardashian. Oh my god, that's like the Hadid family.
Oh my god. I'm sorry, we're really deviating.
I have no clue
It's a
what you
job
guys
to
are talking
digress.
about.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
We are sorry collectively.
Take it. Let's begin then. Hey everyone, this is Spurgeon back with the next episode of Podcast Before You. That is the best music that we could come up with. So we have an interesting guest with us today. Before I introduce the guest, we have to begin the story in my first year on the second day probably of
Orientation.
Orientation,
Yeah.
yes, that was the word I was looking for. To orient us. And suddenly all the lights become dim and there is a big picture of a dog on the screen and there is a name on it, probably something like Alice. I imagine that it is a talk by this person called Alice. And as soon as it begins, I realize that actually it is not the name of the person who is talking there, but it is actually the name of the dog in the picture. And so I am that guy who comes from a typical engineering college in India where
Dogs are not allowed.
dogs are not allowed. If a dog is on the campus, it is an error.
Oh my
you
god.
know?
An error in the system.
Yeah, people are chasing the dog away, and then for me to see a dog on that screen glorified that way, it was like weird for me. And I was like, what is the point of all of this? Why are these people glorifying dogs on the campus? Come on.
Hey, glorifying?
I'm just gonna bark at you for that.
So that was my first impression. But cut in a few days back, I
Had an intervention.
Yes, I had an intervention by Miss Simrat here, who is also joining the podcast today, and she introduced me to this person, and we had a chat about the animals on the campus, the dogs, the cats, etc. And just the last week, I was typically going to the DH, had my food, and I'm coming back and I'm placing the plate there. And then I see these two girls standing there and asking me to put the chicken pieces that I had just eaten into a bucket. And had it been me before meeting this person, I would have just, done that and walked away. But then I looked at those people and I said, oh, is it for the dogs?
This person, we changed him. Revati, high five.
So my perception of this whole thing changed, and thanks to this person who's on this podcast, who has graciously accepted our humble request to join today's podcast.
We have been stalking her. Exactly, we've been stalking her. Excuse me, madam.
No, I'm kidding. I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, we are very, very happy
Yes,
to have
yes.
you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Miss Revati,
Oh,
the
wow.
president
Guys,
of
you can't see, right?
ACC.
Yes, and you can't
The
see
old
the
campus,
spotlight.
one of the co-presidents of the old campus.
Okay.
For ACC.
Yes.
Uh,
Super.
I don't take all responsibility for the animals because it is
Everybody will be
divided
like,
amongst people.
Revati, you came on the podcast, you bloody president. Do this.
So, Revati, tell us a little bit of yourself, which is a very cliched question, which is the first question on an
I'm
interview.
sorry, but no. I would like to introduce Revati.
Yeah, please.
Be my guest.
So our story began not on the first day of TISS. No,
Which it did.
No. Oh no,
She's
no.
lying.
Absolutely
She's
not.
making this up.
This girl is a house of talents. Isn't that the term? That is. That's what she is.
But it's not the truth.
So I was calmly brushing, in the morning, and we happened to live on the same floor in the hostel. I'm so happy for that. But I was hearing this girl singing since the past 7-8 days. Every day I would hear, and she would be like, something beautiful. She will sing for us in a while. And then I was like, if you guys have seen Pitch Perfect, I felt like the recruiter of Anna Kendrick in the bathroom. So I was like, hey there.
She's pretty creepy.
Yeah.
I was midway through taking a bath.
I'm sorry, I'm a recruiter. This is how we do it. Otherwise, it's a very hard world.
No, but the way it ended was she said, oh, are you going to join the a cappella club?
Yeah.
And my first question was, there's an a cappella club?
Yeah, so.
And
yeah.
then
Dreams
stamped all over my
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so sorry for that. But yeah. So she's an amazing singer, and Spurgeon are great singers and just general dancers as well. But on podcast, we can hear them sing. And my official position here is of a fan.
Quite literally.
Yes.
And of course, the flautist.
Oh yes.
How
so
you call that flautist?
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm the one who is supplying the
Saste sound effect.
नहीं सस्ते क्या ऐसे कैसे बोल सकते हो?
Wow,
Music
what a
to my
player,
ears.
what a player,
Thank
what a
you.
player.
I hide my skills. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Revati, tell us why the ACC? Why did you join the ACC? And I know that's a hard question,
Yeah.
but why the ACC?
So I feel like when you ask any animal lover, why they decided to join ACC, their answer is always that, oh, I wanted to spend more time with animals, or oh, I want to do, I have a dog at home, or I miss it, or I've never had animals or pets, so I'm seeking love over here. My reason was very different. I mean, I do love animals, it's not to say that I don't. I just wanted to be so. So I've always heard that dogs provide unconditional love, or
Yes.
animals in general provide unconditional love.
Like a therapy
So,
dog. of
yeah, like a
sorts.
therapy dog of
Yeah,
sorts. It's a
yeah.
very selfish reason.
Okay.
But it was a time where, you're in a new city and you're seeking comfort. And I felt like when you go to the animals, they're going to provide it for you without any sort of conditionality. So if I go and feed them, there's going to be a bond that's going to form. And I knew that I can count on my doggos if I can't count on a human
Which is
being.
the first animal that you met on the campus?
I actually met Maya on campus for the first time, and he till date remains my favorite dog. I know it's a horrible thing to say as a dog mom. I love all the doggos and the cats equally.
But Revati, when you mentioned Maya, Maya has this quirk, doesn't she? Doesn't he when he just turns and is like, spank me?
So the thing with Maya is, so especially when, I don't know whether he does this with a lot of people, but at least me and a couple of my friends. So when you call Maya, firstly, Maya is extremely, if he hears you call out to him, he will come running to you, no matter where you are, unless he's cranky. But what he does is he'll circle around you and then he'll show you his butt. And initially I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to massage it. Am I supposed to... So I was like,
that affection that I was supposed to get, how I was supposed to deliver it.
yeah, so I was
What's
slightly
the
lost.
proper etiquette here?
Yeah, but the point is, so you have to grab Maya a little, you have to turn him, then you have to, you scratch his ears a little bit, a little under his neck, and he's your puppy.
Oh,
That's what he
okay.
is.
I was once speaking to my mother, and I was just sitting I do speak to her regularly, but at this point, I was sitting on the stairs, and then Maya came and obviously sat butt first.
Yeah.
And I was just petting him throughout, it was
Yeah.
half an hour, and then I got up and then I saw my hand. I was just like, this is intense petting, because it was quite dirty,
Grimy.
because it was the monsoon time
Yeah.
as well.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah. That's another really hard
Yeah.
thing for the dogs, right?
Yeah, it is. The monsoon's probably the hardest, and it's not just hard for the dogs. It becomes difficult for people on campus as well, because what happens is the dogs don't really have a dry space to go to. So there are a lot of public spaces where they can go and seek refuge, but the issue is that a lot of these places, so for example, the hostel, a lot of the residents aren't happy with the dogs coming right now. For example, right now we're facing a lot of complaints with respect to
Shifu keeps
Shifu.
living in our floor.
Yeah, but just to clarify, Shifu was there first, guys. So quite frankly, you're encroaching on his property. So you guys gotta chill. Leave Shifu alone. He's a 14-year-old dog.
Oh damn.
So yeah, so that's and we keep getting these complaints, for lack of a better word, saying the dogs stink, and we're just like, well, they live outside, they get wet in the rain, they're going to stink. And there are a lot of things that we do from our side. So we try putting moisture absorption powder, or we've tried bathing them in the past. It's just that the dogs know when we're trying to bathe them. It's like they can sense it.
Yeah.
So they run away. And bathing them would be...
They're aversive to it. Like
yeah, I mean, you bathe them for what? A day or two? They're going to go roll around in the mud.
Yeah.
They're going to get wet again. And it's essentially going to
You trying to be clever.
But actually,
Yeah.
is bathing them actually helpful to them?
So it's bathing them is
they've
actually...
always been like living in the nature in that way, right?
That's true. But the thing is, they're also susceptible to developing a lot of ticks. And
okay.
that bothers them a
late,
lot.
yeah, it does bother them a lot. And we do use tick powder, and we do quite a lot of other things to make sure. So whenever I see any of the dogs, my first instinct is to check for ticks and, remove them. But when it comes to, dogs, when they have a lot... So, for example, right now, a lot of the dogs are facing a skin problem. So there's a lot of itching, there's fur that's thinning a lot. So we suspect that it's probably one dog that's contracted it and it's infectious, so it's spreading to the other. So we're trying to contain it desperately.
Okay. One concern that every person kind of has at the back of their mind is like, is it any disease that any of these animals get?
Of course not. So
is it going to pass on to us?
No.
That fear is there.
I mean,
please address it.
No, I mean, so we do make it a point to make sure that all the animals on campus are healthy. The cats are neutered and spayed. They are given their vaccination medication. So are the dogs.
Yeah. One really funny thing I find is the ACC WhatsApp chat. It's so like it's full of memes, beautiful photos, and also like certain resentments. So I remember Padmini, she had written like, Coco does not like me. It's just like these dogs and these cats, they have explicit behaviors.
Yep.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So
every single animal on campus has their own personality, and it's a very well developed personality. And once you manage to understand that, once you form a bond, it's very difficult to break it. So there's a lot of newcomers that we've coaxed them to go to Coco because we personally haven't been able to do that.
Okay.
So we're just like,
I'm
please
in
form a
love
bond.
with the Coco.
So
But I want to talk about those WhatsApp groups actually.
Yeah.
So how big is this community
it's
actually?
huge. So the one thing that I absolutely love about the Animal Care Club community is that we have people who were in TISS maybe 6 to 8 years ago. Probably longer than that. And these are
Our
all seniors,
ancestors, like
our
you mentioned.
ancestors,
Yeah.
super senior, whatever. So they're all extremely passionate about the dogs. And I hope that, if once I am to leave TISS, I'm able to remember just how much I love the dogs as well and contribute the way that they contribute. Because when you post anything on the ACC group, whether it's something related to dog wellness, health, anything, there's always a prompt response from somebody.
Yeah.
So someone will help out. And like I said, the sort of ACC community that we formed is very close knit. And all of them,
But also
some
very
of our-
welcoming.
yeah,
Very
extremely welcoming. So
Yeah.
so even if there's a newcomer on the group who's asking very basic fundamental information, there's no, sort of
Shaming.
there's no
Like,
shaming.
how can you not
There's
know this
never
sort
any
of a thing?
patronizing tone that's being used. Everybody's like, okay, we're all coming together to help the animals.
Yeah.
And let's figure out how we can do that. And even despite being, one of our seniors, Samriddhi, actually, she's not even in India. She's somewhere, she's out of India. And she still makes it a point to help out whenever she can.
Oh my god, I have seen her name pop out on WhatsApp and I'm like, who is this person? Where is she on campus?
She's extremely
how
helpful.
Interesting.
So that helping out that you're talking about,
Right.
obviously there is a lot of money involved in
There is.
doing all of this.
Oh,
Lemon
such a topic.
And this is quite the controversial topic.
It is.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people have, I wouldn't call it a problem, but I would definitely say that people have their doubts with respect to, why would you want to have money allocated to the animals? And I think while that might seem like a question that's worth asking, I feel like at the end of the day, these are animals that have been on campus for longer than students.
Absolutely,
And they are part of the community. So
And
they're
it's not
part
a
of the-
burden.
Exactly. They're part of the TISS community. And we're caring for them and we love them. And this money is not to give them a luxurious life. This money is to ensure that they have the comfort that they need. And they're college dogs, right? They're not owned by individuals, or they're not owned by the ACC, which is a common misconception that a lot of people have. So if anything happens to a dog, they call us up and they're like, ACC kuch kar kyun nahi raha? And my question is, well, there's only so much we can do. We're a group of volunteers that have come together because we love the dogs and the cats and we want to do stuff for them. But that doesn't mean that, I don't know how to put this. The
There are
ownership.
I think the biggest misconception that people have is that just like the student union is a representative of all of us,
Exactly.
even the ACC is
It's
a
a
representative of people
precisely, that's the
who
best
have
way to put
taken
it.
up the job willingly to take care of these animals that are on the campus.
That's right.
But that doesn't mean that it is their job. It is all of us.
Yeah.
It's just that they are the ones who are executing what we should also
I
have
mean,
been
to be
doing.
fair, when we have meetings, the dogs are very much present there and they're giving, they're taking the notes on the minutes of the meeting and
Yeah, we take attendance.
Yeah.
Maya present. Scooby
Coco
present.
absent.
Coco
always
always
absent.
absent. Always absent.
Coco attends real classes. Guys. You know, her social work classes, that's where you can find Coco.
Erudite AF. Like that's like her, like
Yeah.
the title.
But the other dogs, all of the dogs, they're very close to not just my heart, but like everybody in the ACC. And there's a lot of people who've joined this year who had no experience with animals ever.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've thoroughly succeeded in transforming them.
And yeah, I think like even when it comes to the kind of environment that we're trying to create, we were talking about this in TISS especially, where we see how much cruelty there is
Exactly,
on animals outside of this space. So this is like one experiment
safe
of
space.
sorts. Yeah, like it's a safe space even
a
for
safe
animals.
space.
And that
But
extends.
Having said that it's a safe space, I just want to make a public disclaimer on this podcast, if that's okay.
Yeah.
We are not a cat center. Please understand that if you find any stray cat, dog, any animal outside of campus, just because we have a thriving animal care community here does not mean that we have the resources to be able to take care of them. So it becomes very difficult for us when there's, stray kittens that are not on campus, that are, somewhere far away, that have been picked up and come and brought here because they know that we can take care of them. And while we do everything in our power to ensure that, we are also extremely low on resources to be able to care for so many animals. That there's close to 18 to 20 animals that we're looking after at the moment. So that becomes, and it is a responsibility at the end of the day, because anything happens to the animals, it's not just, we need to do something, it's also a sense of worry that envelops us, because what can I do? And I know it's like, how would you feel about your child?
No, it
it's probably a
affects you so
very
much.
big comparison to make, but when you care for somebody so deeply,
Like you're saying about the fact that there are some losses also that happened. Like
Exactly,
recently, I think what was the cat's name?
Honey
right.
passed away.
And Honey was found right in front of the guard's office. So
That's right.
So what do you do when an animal passes away?
So we bury the animals.
Where?
We
On
bury
the campus?
them. Yeah, on campus. So
where?
behind the guest house in the old campus, or in the new
okay.
campus, right in front of the convention center. There's a path that goes
Yeah,
inwards.
yeah.
So on the field area next to that.
nice.
So that's where we bury them. Yeah, and there's tombstones to designate their
oh
places.
my god! So we can actually
Oh.
go and like pay our condolences. Like we can visit them.
I'm sure if
Yeah?
you want to. Yeah.
Let's do the chair bit right now, Revati. our fourth guest on the podcast.
Is the chair.
Which is the chair?
noisy
Yes,
chair.
absolutely.
That's a lot of questions. I'm growing slightly
Yeah.
off.
Yeah,
I'm
that's what he
afraid.
did to me
These are
also in the last podcast.
very,
He
very
just
simple
opened it.
questions.
Oh, okay.
If
Okay.
you had one superpower, what would that be?
Flying.
Flying. Why?
What do you mean, why? You have to sit on the road and look at traffic all the time. This is a no-brainer. What do
You
you
run
need?
into like the engine of an aeroplane.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that I don't fly at such high altitudes.
Oh,
Like, who's
damn.
going to be an idiot? Like, I won't be able to breathe at the height that planes.
Realistic.
Yeah.
Very nice.
It's going to swallow the birds, guys.
Yours, Simrat?
Oh. Recently I've been into teleportation. Like that would be really
Ooh, that
fun.
would be pretty cool.
Oh,
Because you'll
apparition.
be apparition,
Ah.
teleportation. Yes, I
It's
did
a
mention
lot
that.
of money on
That's
transport.
excuse me. That's how I came here.
Since you guys are like Potter fans, favorite character from Harry Potter?
Ooh, it's a good question.
तुम्हारी तो Hermione होगी.
I like Hermione. Of course, I like her, but it's my favorite, probably not. I like Neville. I think Neville's the
Neville is
the
cute.
cutest.
Yeah,
I feel like
yeah.
he's had the most. He's had the largest character transformation. Like he went from standing up to them in the corridor saying, "I won't let you go," to being, sorry for people who haven't watched Harry Potter, spoiler comes. But like being tortured by the Carrows and
slaughtering the snakes.
slaughtering
snake.
Nagini,
Standing
yeah.
up to Voldemort, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, he limped his way, saying, he basically told Voldemort to take a hike.
Yeah.
Yours?
Oh my god, I was just going through all the characters.
Yeah, I
and then
could see that.
See, I like the. I was just talking about it with my roommates. Luna Lovegood was pretty whimsical and from Ravenclaw,
Yeah.
which I have been diagnosed with. On
You've been
podcast.
You see yourself in
She's
Luna
been
Lovegood, is
diagnosed
that right?
with
Yeah,
Ravenclaw,
I
that's
basically,
right.
guys, I'm Ravenclaw. So is Revati, but there's a pretentious Gryffindor here. We're not resentful of that. Who are you, Spurgeon?
I have these
Yeah, pretty
phases where sometimes I like Dumbledore and sometimes I like Snape for some reason.
Snape is like a
He's a interesting character.
sweet drink a bitter drink at first with a good aftertaste sort
Yeah.
of a thing. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, but
I
nobody
feel
wants
sad
that
for
bitter
that guy.
drink
Maybe
first.
that's the reason.
I mean,
Also, he had just very slick hair. I didn't like.
yeah, I felt like if
Fluff
you
it up a
could put a pen on top of it, just like slide off.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
My favorite dialogue of his is turn to page number
Page.
394.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I had this thing. Oh my god, guys, we should talk like Snape.
And no.
Oh my god. Always.
If you guys haven't checked it out though, you should try Harry Potter Puppet Pals. Have you checked them out?
Puppet
No, I don't
Pals.
know.
Yeah, Harry Potter Puppet Pals. Check them out. They're like really old videos, but they're so cute.
Okay, we will.
Yeah.
Is this on YouTube?
Yeah.
Your second home.
Yeah.
This is the kind of wisdom you get by listening to the podcast, guys.
Absolutely, recommendation.
Stay tuned for the next one. Next question. One person you would want to listen to all day. Would you like to say my name?
Excuse me,
Maybe,
maybe. Tis baat hai.
one person that I like to listen to all day.
And all night.
What? See, that's a very. What do I do if I don't want to listen to anybody? Like, why would you want to listen to someone all day?
Like someone you don't mind listening to. Kind of.
Like after a point, the person just fades into your background and you pay no interest.
You
And
just
probably like, I'm sorry, but Ram Kumar sir.
Actually, I wouldn't mind listening to Ram
See?
Kumar all day.
Okay, so I think like it's time that since you mentioned cheap thrills, Sasti Masti.
Oh boy.
For Sasti Masti on our podcast, we can have some free entertainment from Spurgeon and Revati and the official fan and flautist.
Yes,
me.
flautist.
Yes, I'm here to just spam. Filler do
I have a dream.
Yes.
I hope will come true. You're here with me.
Hold on, let's play this. How does it?
I'm here with you.
Let's start from the beginning. Maybe then we'll be able to get
That's a great idea. Damn, never thought of that.
it. How's it go?
A long, long time ago, there was a volcano living all alone in the middle of the sea.
He said I out by his play, watching all the couples play, and wishing that he had someone too. And from his lover came a song of hope that he sang out loud every day for years and years. I have a dream
I hope will come true when you're here with me and I'm here with you. I wish that the earth. Yeah, this is not working. That was terrible. I'm sorry. It's my fault.
But guys, I think we can count on you.
I can't play.
We can. I think we should say.
Do you know I'm yours?
Did you know that, Spurgeon?
Well, you done me and you bet I felt it. I tried to reach you. But
Please,
so hard
record
that
this.
I melted.
Record this.
Fell right through the cracks.
Oh, it's recorded? Oh no.
Now I'm trying
Sorry.
to get back.
The girl I
Before the
recruited
clothes
in the
are
toilet.
enough, I'll be giving him my best. She's
coming out.
Gonna stop me, but divine intervention. Wrecking it to get my turn. Some will learn some, but I won't hesitate no more. This cannot wait. I'm yours.
Hey, we're a band. I'm the whistler.
So open up your mind and see like me.
family. It's
Love
our
me,
God
yes,
to
we
take
are.
the right to be
It's
loved, love, 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 love.
Maybe.
Do you have an alter
I don't.
ego?
If I did, even if I did, I wouldn't tell you.
What's the point of it being alter then?